This is Witch-based news for Friday the 31st of July 2026. I'm Commander Buur. In a bumper Elite Dangerous news this week, Frontier Tease the next new vessel coming to the game, Colonia currently has 4 community goals running, the July DevLog features an interview with the dev team, Frontier give fascinating details on why the Nomad got the game's first ship interior, and the thought process behind Operations megaship designs is revealed. If you enjoy our videos, please consider subscribing and ding the notification bell so that you never miss an update or community post. And if you'd like to help directly support our work, you can also join us on Patreon. Links to that and everything else are in the description below. Frontier had been telegraphing for the last few weeks that something might be afoot in Colonia. The distant bubble of humanity is some 22,000 light years from Sol and is centred around what is now called the Colonia system, one of the most prominent features of which is the now permanent but once mobile Jaques station. If you're unfamiliar with Jaques starport and how it got there, there's a link in the description that will fill in some 10-year-old blanks for you. Suffice to say, this year, June specifically, is the 10th anniversary of the founding of Colonia, and the region is looking to throw a birthday bash to mark the occasion, with Jaques himself of starport fame promising something was coming to the region, but not, initially at least, being more specific about what that something might be. In a Galnet article on the 16th of July, it was noted that the effort that the region is now involved in had the potential, their word, to create a mega market for the region. Mega market is not a word that Galnet throws around often, but when it does, it's used to describe Jameson Memorial Station in the Shinrarta Desra system, the space station that literally has every module and starship on sale. That word potential has some weight to it though. There's an implication at least that, should the efforts fail, Colonia might not perhaps get its mega market, although I should point out that hasn't been explicitly stated. The sharper eared amongst you will note that I said efforts in the last sentence and not effort singular. Having stocked up some megaships in the bubble last week, those supplies have been shifted to Jaques station and now require redistribution to no less than 4 nearby starports, all of which are running a CG and all of which have the potential, that word again, to hand out a grade 5 pre-engineered cargo rack to everyone involved upon reaching tier 1. However, and here is where it gets sticky, 3 of the community goals are delivering to stations that have large landing pads but only have 1 tier in their CG. That's to say, they need to complete for anyone to be eligible for a cargo rack, and the 4th CG has 3 tiers to it and is an outpost that only supports medium class ships at the most. Beautifully indicative of the problem that Colonia faces on the whole. You can't buy a Panther Clipper anywhere in the region. The closest we could find is around 6,500 light years away according to Inara. So in summary, herein lies the challenge. Not only are the 4 CGs 22,000 light years from the bubble, but they basically need completing in order to gain any significant benefit over and above credits, and without shipping one out there yourself, you're not using the galaxy's largest hauler to complete any of them. Plus, there is also a destination that can only take a medium ship at best. Despite the obvious challenges, however, the gauntlet that has clearly been thrown down by the developers is being answered by the player base. As of this recording, 3,500 players have signed up, and one of the CGs running out of the Azura system is already over 50% complete. It has to be said, it is the smallest of the delivery totals needed, but if there is one thing that the Elite Dangerous community excels at, it's hauling. What is most interesting about this whole event is not necessarily the community goals, but what comes after. It may just be that this is a CG to beef up the local economy, and if you're a Colonia based commander, that will, I'm sure, be most welcome. If that mega market could also sell some tritium, then the many fleet carriers that ferry to and fro through the region will almost certainly find some benefit as well. I am curious to know if anything else is likely to happen in the zone as part of the celebrations. By our reckoning here, there have been 2 other significant occasions when FDev have rallied commanders very specifically to one spot for something. One was the start of the Thargoid invasion in HIP 22460 when, to be honest, most of us got killed, and the other was the discovery of Radicoida Unica in HIP 87621. I'm not suggesting that there will be anything on those scales happening here. In fact, it strikes me as more likely that this is just a step up for the local economy and nothing more. But if you can delay leaving the area until all has been revealed, it might be worth doing so just in case. If you are planning on participating in the CGs, then it's Paxton Landing in the Ein Herjar system that has just a medium landing pad, and I've linked to Inara's tracking of all the community goals in the description below this video. Frontier's regular round of communication to the Elite Dangerous player base these days includes a monthly developer log of one form or another. July has been a very busy month for the game and somewhat of a benchmark moment for the genre defining space sim, and the developer log this month, which was published on Thursday afternoon UK time, very much reflects that. The devlog this month supplies a useful summary of the Galnet articles published most recently, as well as a look at some items for sale on the Arc store. The lion's share of the piece published this week, however, takes the form of an interview with the developers behind the 2 tentpole releases into the game that have dominated July. These 2 releases being the Nomad ship-launched vessel, which actually released in the last days of June, and the much delayed and hugely anticipated Operations update, which was finally deployed on the 1st of July. Upon it first being revealed, FDev had said that there was more to the Nomad than first meets the eye, but that they would wait for commanders to discover the full extent of the Nomad's secrets upon its release, and it's this element of the ship's arrival into the game that the devlog focuses on first, specifically the reactions from partnered content creators upon learning that the game's first ship-launched vessel actually has a sort of semi-interior space when you leave the single-seat cockpit. Seeing those 3 sets of doors open up in front of you for the first time is something certainly that we won't long forget here, but aside from being just really cool, there is in fact a practical reason why the departure from the Nomad's cockpit isn't exactly the same as that from something like an SRV. This aspect of the Nomad's design is tackled in the devlog in a conversation with Elite's senior designer Curtis Griffiths and its art director Chris Gregory and its executive producer Gautier Vercaer. One of the Nomad's key features is its ability to land almost anywhere. So flexible is its tiny footprint that it could almost park on a dime that had been sellotaped to a vertical cliff. The downside to this spider-like rock clinging ability, however, is that the pilot can often be faced with a sheer drop right outside the vehicle. In something like an SRV, you currently have no choice whatsoever where your on-foot avatar is going to spawn when you exit the cockpit, and therefore, technically speaking, the aforementioned sheer drop could potentially introduce a unique opportunity for you to hurriedly develop the inhuman ability to glide or perhaps levitate, lest you become a jammy smear on the surface of the planet 700 feet below your now abandoned space car. In the same scenario, when using a Nomad, however, not only has the journey to the altitudinal parking zone been significantly quicker and less face chewy, But when you exit the pilot seat, you are presented with a ready laid, safe and flat surface to stand on in the form of the Nomad's interior. At the same time, that interior space then opens up, gifting you 3 choices on where to safely exit the vehicle and avoid becoming an unloved pizza topping hundreds of feet below. This necessary utility in the vehicle has the dual side effects of, as I mentioned, being very cool for the player whilst also granting FDev another opportunity to monetize the vehicle further with customizable interior kits, a handy win-win for everyone involved. Elite Dangerous commanders are often notorious for using ships and equipment in the game in ways for which they were not intended, and Gautier makes particular note of this, commenting that commanders have attempted to use the dedicated Exobio Explorer ship not only for combat but also by taking further advantage of its tiny footprint to deploy it into on-foot surface stealth missions in particular. I can confirm, by the way, if you haven't yet used a Nomad to facilitate a settlement raid, I can heartily recommend it. Such a small flying vehicle that can be examined by players at such close quarters comes with its own design and art challenges for the team, and it's this aspect of the Nomad's creation that the devlog also deals with when talking to principal artist Simon Brewer and graduate 3D artist Ari Bishop. Ari talks about the necessity for the wear and tear on the Nomad to be seen, quite literally, up close in first person over and over again by those using it, and so those effects had to be reflected correctly and at a different scale to that seen normally in the dirt and wear masks that build up on other vehicles during use in the game. Noting that the Nomad's scale also afforded them the opportunity to add a lot more detail than they normally would need to. Further leaning into the Nomad's exquisite detailing, Simon makes particular note of the puffs of gas that Nomad owners will have seen from the diminutive ship's gimballing quad engines when in their landed configuration. The article then moves on to talk about the artwork behind the new keystone feature for July, Operations. The piece starts by highlighting the fact that every room for the megaship interior spaces is a new asset, built especially for operations. Crucially, as such, it can't look suddenly hugely different from everything else in the game. Distinctly different, but also kind of the same. Simon Brewer noting that to fit into those rooms they've built new corridor walls, computer servers, ducting and conduits, lockers and a full cafeteria, and new interactive fuse box featuring a slide out rack of switches, as well as new bulkhead doors and various additional cargo props. All of this is designed to fit in seamlessly with Odyssey's existing modular building set, which I'm guessing means the team will be able to slot these newer items in with the original Odyssey pieces in the future when building out any other new environments for operations or anything that comes afterwards. Think of it as adding to an existing construction set of prefabricated building pieces. When it's all combined, it will look familiar but also different at the same time. As well as highlighting the different props and pieces that the team has created for operations, they also got into detail regarding their design philosophy and how what might seem as a purely artistic endeavour has to tie into gameplay design as well in order to look great but also serve what the new feature is trying to achieve overall. Simon and Ari both talk about the need for things like cover during a firefight having to be accounted for, as well as the ease of navigation through a space that quite often contains 1 or 2 players at least, as well as significant numbers of NPCs. There are also sections in the interview covering colour coding used to identify for the player what deck they might be on, and also some fascinating insights into the visual storytelling the team have used to identify areas of importance to the player, or just nice details like officers' areas being of a higher quality than those used by the regular crew, etc. It's a really interesting look behind the curtain, and there are definitely some details I want to try and pick out for myself next time I'm in there. whilst simultaneously trying to avoid being the recipient of the new ventilation opportunities being handed out liberally by those same officers and crew. At the end of the operations piece, it's revealed by Elite's technical lead Roger Bennett that over 130,000 individual operations have been started since the feature launched 1 month ago, and of those 130,000 ops, 75% of them were successfully completed. The most popular operation so far has been Biohazard Takedown, which, whilst it's considered generally to be one of the easier operations, is almost exclusively centred on the game's first person shooter gameplay, requiring no engagement with ship to ship combat whatsoever. A conversation with the developers of this most special of video games is always a treat, and certainly no less so than when it centres around new content as radical to the game that we've become used to as the Nomad and Operations. A highly recommended read. You'll find the July developer log linked in the description below this video. What the developer log doesn't reveal, however, is any details about the next new vessel to enter the game after the Nomad. Cast your eyes over the now traditional roadmap that FDev published at the start of this year, which you can see on screen now, and you'll note that the summer period has 2 new vessels scheduled to be deployed within it, with a further vessel bookmarked for autumn alongside a feature reboot and another final vessel for the year in winter. And literally as we were uploading this video, FDev have teased an image of the next new vessel coming to the game. The image hit social media with the words "Break New Ground, concept reveal coming on the 6th of August. We think we can see a wheel and possibly a deployable leg or support maybe, with clearly a volcanic vent in the background. Could this be some sort of deployable surface miner maybe? We won't have long to wait now. What do you think you can see in FDev's new vessel teaser? What has been your favourite or most frequently run operation so far, and have you used a Nomad for something other than ExoBio? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back later this week with more videos. Until then, 07 Commanders, follow the greens on the way out and do keep clear of the toast rack. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.